This is the Corsair MAKR 75HE. A keyboard that Corsair's calling a ultra premium DIY keyboard with Hall effect switches, and in this video I'm going to split this into two different angles. One of them, I'll focus on this from a premium keyboard perspective, as the name might suggest and the price might suggest, coming in at £219. And then I'm going to be looking at it from a gaming / performance perspective, because it's Hall effect, it's about gaming. And then right by the end of the video, I'm going to close this with some closing thoughts, as well as a sound test as the very last thing in this video. A lot of what we'll talk here in this video is heavily influenced by personal preference, because keyboards are personal preference. Yes, we will talk objectively about things that can be taught that way, like the performance and the build quality and the value proposition, but a lot about the feel and the sound and how things sort of interact with each other tend to be very much personal preference, and I'll keep mine consistent from this video onto many other keyboards videos in the future. The highlight specs really go as follows. It's a wired keyboard, a 75% layout keyboard in a full aluminum case that weighs around 1.3 kilograms when fully built, with a rotary knob on the top right. If you want to replace it for some reason with a tiny LCD screen, Corsair are selling that for £18. And if you want to make this entire package completely wireless, you can. You probably shouldn't, and Corsair selling the wireless module for around £48. But given that the rated battery life on that is around 50 hours, and Corsair puts in small text, no RGB and no 2.4 gigahertz band, so Bluetooth, I don't expect it to last much more than 24 hours with some of that enabled, because Hall effect is inherently inefficient, and wireless and Hall effect doesn't really mix too well. On the bottom case, there's this interesting design with a Corsair logo on the center that I quite like, and there's no hidden screws, no glue inside. It's dead easy to get inside, and that's exactly what you want, especially if you call your keyboard a DIY keyboard of some kind. Inside, there's a ton of foam. Corsair says 8 layers of dampening foam, and honestly, it's so much. It's 200 grams of foam and silicone filling every nook and cranny inside, which kind of defeats a little bit of the purpose of adding all the premium materials with the metal case. For example, the top and bottom case come in at 600 grams, so a third of that is just weight of foam and weight of silicone, which feels too much, and it actually sounds too much in my opinion. You add the premium materials on the case so that you get a premium sound and a premium feel to the overall board, but if you fill every little bit of the inside with foam and silicone and all these layers to absorb all the sound and vibrations, the keyboard feels dead. And it sounds dead. It's very dampened, it's very muted, the sound, with very little character. I would say if you get this same amount of foam and you put it in a plastic case with the exact same mounting with the gaskets, and the keyboard will sound exactly the same as this one. And that's, I feel like, a wasted opportunity. I'll make sure to do a with and without some of this foam sound test at the very end of the video, but probably it won't be as good as it could be, because if you don't engineer a keyboard counting on less foam, a lot of resonant sounds and things will sort of come into it, and just because it's metal, it doesn't mean it's going to sound great to begin with. Another big marketing point is the gasket mounted design and all the good things that usually come with it, from it being isolated from the case and keeping a lot of bounciness in the typing feel, or just isolating the forces and the vibrations from the rest of the case, making the keyboard feel better as a whole. When you build it with so much foam, you end up having no space for anything to move anywhere. And when you couple that with 14 individual standoff screws tightening the PCB to the plate to make sure no movement happens between the switches, the plate, and everything else, it feels stiff. It feels very, very stiff. It would have felt exactly the same if this was top mount, but calling this a gasket mounted keyboard doesn't really sit right with me because even though yes, technically it's gasket mounted, it's amongst the stiffest and the less movable and the more stuffed in feel, so it ends up just being like any other type of mounting for a keyboard. There are these metal poles inside the case that you sort of line the PCB with so that it sort of fits in place, but they kind of end up rubbing against the PCB and the plate in certain situations that doesn't really feel the best. Like the idea with gasket mount is a suspended keyboard that doesn't really touch anything, so that kind of ruins it in certain movements, and the vibration will transfer to the bottom case, which kind of just makes the sound not as good as it could be. But again, all the foam dampens all that away, so it kind of works as a cheat sheet for, you know, just making the keyboard sound not offensive. The keycap quality is about what you expect. It feels exactly the same PBT texture as Razer's keycaps and the exact same sort of translucency on the legends. It's all caps on everything, which isn't really my favorite look, but honestly it does the job with the accent yellow keys, giving it a little bit of character, which I do appreciate. It really does look like your run-of-the-mill 20 to 30 pound PBT keycap set that you can find anywhere in any number of colors. Nothing special here, and a huge gap from better materials and better keycaps that usually start at around 60 pounds. The stabilizers are indeed screw-in stabilizers, which is something that so many gaming brands tend to fail at. But honestly, out of the box, they were mediocre. The lubing job is way too thin and it doesn't really do enough to keep all the rattle away. But because of all the foam, which is the handicap that you're gonna see me bring on again and again, it sounds all right. It doesn't sound like the rattly mess that some keyboards tend to sound from most gaming brands. So it gets a little bit of a pass, but I ended up just re-lubing it, and you'll see the difference in the sound test at the end. The switches, Corsair's calling them Corsair MGX Hyperdrive, but upon further inspection, this is a Gateron switch. You can see the tiny G on the corner, and fun fact, these stabilizers are also Gateron stabilizers. This is a great brand with so many options out there, and I have absolutely no problem with the classic rebrand that so many gaming companies tend to do. The switches are light, they are smooth, they have a very, very light layer of lube in the center, and unlike the stabilizers, you don't have to touch them at all. It doesn't make any difference. They are super smooth, straight out of the box, and that's exactly what you want to see. You also can replace them in the future or change them if you want to play around with some Hall effect switches, as most of them are just completely interchangeable between boards and they just pop right out and you just put the replacement in. Same thing goes for the keycaps. It's standard design, standard layout, so any keycap set is gonna fit here, which is another great thing to see.
Built for what lies beyond. Raw power, engineered for dominance. Every system pushed beyond limits. Whether you need a custom build or one ready for launch tomorrow, CyberPower PC powers your next conquest. So don't wait, conquer the cosmos.
A small final mention to RGB, it's just not my thing anymore, but I still find it crazy that 10 years ago, it's still the exact same implementation you see here. You still have uneven lighting on bigger keys that doesn't really look that great, and honestly, I don't understand why you can't have a white diode on the LED so that you can actually get a normal white color if you want it, or it could just increase brightness if you want it, or you'll do a wave with white that doesn't look blue. I don't know. I think there's innovation there if you want to do RGB. Now let's talk gaming, and right out of the box, my experience was not great. Like, I had some keys that was just clicking themselves, and I felt like there was a ghost that was just pressing F2 and backspace randomly. I felt very confused, even without touching any settings, just straight out of the box. This was the experience, so I very quickly delved into the calibration part of the web app, which was my main way of controlling any software features because I just don't like IQ. It's too bloated, so a web app that works okay, even though it's quite sluggish, is my preferred way of customizing the board. So I went through the calibration process, which takes about 6 to 7 seconds per key. You hold the key down, you wait, and then it finishes, changes the color on the LED, and you move on to the next one. So it's about 6-7 minutes to do the entire board, which felt annoying, but after I'd done that, nothing else weird happened. What did happen, however, is the fact that I just couldn't get the entire travel distance for the keys. Changing the actuation distance from anything more than around 3.7, 3.8 millimeters, if you push it all the way down to 4, it feels like even after calibration, the actuation distance is underneath the board for some reason. So you have to really press it to get any sort of input on the key, which felt weird. So I just limited to around 3.6 for the bigger keys, 1.8 in general for most keys, and around the WASD I went for a very sensitive 0.4 millimeters, or at least I wanted it to be 0.4, but when you set 0.4 it puts 0.3. I don't know what's that all about. I then activated Rapid Trigger, which is the main selling point for HE keyboards in my opinion, and I was off to the races. And after all this dance, the performance was fantastic. Quick to react as you would expect with any HE keyboard, and it was reliable after the out-of-the-box struggles. I've said it before and I'll say it again, HE keyboards are fantastic for gaming and the kind of upgrade that it's night and day, especially if you play competitive games. But even in more slower paced, more slower movement type of games, you really feel the difference from how responsive the movement changes can be, and it just feels fantastic to have more granular control as to when you start and stop moving. If a keyboard has the words gaming anywhere in the marketing, it needs to be Hall Effect in 2026. There's absolutely no reason for it not to be. Oh, and the 8000 Hz, of course it makes no practical difference, at least from my actual experience using it. It also doesn't seem to impact CPU performance nearly as much as gaming mice tend to do when you raise the polling rate to 4000 or 8000. So it really is, turn it on if you want. If you don't, you're not going to be losing anything. Hopefully in the future, I'll be able to get a testing setup where I can actually get the millisecond difference from these ultra high refresh rate and ultra high polling rate devices. But as for now, it's my personal experience using it and it makes no difference. Which brings us to the value proposition. And look, it's £219. It's super expensive, but apparently Razer's charging a similar amount for their premium Huntsman keyboards that I guarantee you feel significantly worse than this guy right here. Would I personally think that £219 is worth for all this keyboard? I don't know. I think you can build a similar keyboard if you're into the custom keyboard world for a very similar price with significantly better build materials and sound and typing feel with an actual softer typing experience if that's what you're looking for, or at least a more livelier sound and typing feedback. But it does the job, it's a premium case, and you have to commend them for trying to do something with actually good materials. But even if you're not into the custom keyboard land, there are plenty of brands that are currently doing Hall Effect keyboards for significantly cheaper if you want to just get the Hall Effect performance. So yeah, I'll close this off with a sound test. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful to you in your quest to finding a good keyboard for yourself. And yeah, let's get to the sound test. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon.